Hello and welcome to another episode of the SBK Betting Podcast. I'm Adam Bayliss, not Jess Stafford. She is sunning herself in California at the Breeders' Cup. However, I am joined as ever by the gruesome twosome, Mr. Tom Collins and Mr. Ross Miller, who's looking incredibly fresh in a hoodie. Jumps are back. The turtleneck's not out quite yet. How are you both?
I'm good, Adam. Yeah, as I said to you before, I'm in a hoodie because I've just come off the yard, got absolutely drenched. So not only do the turtlenecks need to come out, but the waterproofs need to get found from somewhere as well. But yeah, maybe a fresh new look for a fresh new jump season.
Love it. And Tom's looking very smart there.
Ross and I have swapped a tyre. It's crazy. I'm the one that's usually wearing the hoodie, and Ross is in a shirt. But jump season rather than flat. Different people now.
Amen. Right, well, let's get into it. Look, the jumps are back. I don't know how many times I've said that over the last week, but they are actually back at Wetherby and Ascot, while the burning embers of the flat season still flicker at Newmarket. But let's stay over obstacles to begin with and look first at the West Yorkshire Hurdle at Wetherby. It's 2:21. We're recording today just after decks have come out, so you have to excuse if prices are a little bit skew-if. But Time Hill is almost certainly going to head the market and go off favourite here with Dashel Drasher in behind. Is this going to go to one of the pensioners at the top of the market, Ross, or is there something better lurking?
Yeah, I mean, if ever a race tells you how lacking in depth this division is this, isn't it? I just fail to see that Time Hill is as good as he was. I know he won at Kempton and it was a grade one, but he fell over the line to my mind on that occasion. That was over fences, then came back, tried hurdles at the back end of the season, and he just looked at a lesser light. Now, there is an argument that the Philip Hobbs yard wasn't in great form now, and obviously is now the Johnson White and Philip Hobbs yard, and they have been amongst the winners so far this season, but he's just a horse that I think, taking a price like this in a race like this, when he's not top rated, is just not for me. Dashel Drasher, yes, he's a pensioner, but he did nothing but go out on his sword every single time last season. He's an absolutely lovable horse, gives his all every time, fences and hurdles. They had said they were going to look at fences a bit more this year, so I think given he was entered in the Charlie Hall and in this, Jeremy Scott's done a bit of the work for you there in that he thinks this is a more straightforward target. He's rated £4 superior to Time Hill. He's rated obviously vastly superior to everything else, and yet he gets 11. Well, he's rated £11 higher than Botox has. He gets £4 from him. He's rated £17 higher than Ambitious Fellow and gets £4 from him. And yet he's not a short price favourite. I think he should be. He loves soft ground. This is, he's going to be ready to go because this is probably his stay as hurdle for the year. I just don't see what's not to like about him, to be honest, in what I see as a weak heat.
Okay, and Tom, are you in agreement?
I'm in agreement that Dashel Drasher should be favourite for sure. He is value at the price, but I thought the Botox has similar kind of claims, despite the fact, as Ross says, he has plenty to find on official ratings. But he's a much younger horse, Botox may not have fully developed into the real hurdler that Gary Moore thinks he can be. Last season, he progressed around £10, and there is still further progression there, especially given last year he posted a really easy victory and backed that up with a fourth place finish in the Cleve Hurdle as well. I'm going to take a chance on Botox at the prices. Look, it's not the best punting race, and given it's early jump season and I'm still very much in flat mode, I will not be having a bet here. But Botox with that record fresh, form figures 1-1, F2, first time up each season, will probably be more primed for this than the likes of Time Hill and Dashel Drasher, in my opinion, and he's a slightly bigger price.
And Caelan Quinn's on board. We like Caelan Quinn, don't we, Ross?
We do, yeah. I mean, Botox is a horse I like. I actually put him up on this podcast last year when he won at Haydock. Just can be a bit hit and miss. But yeah, Caelan Quinn, I can't believe he still claims what he claims. He seems to have been around for a while, seems to do very little wrong, ride plenty of winners, and yet he's still got a decent claim. Definitely a jockey that, certainly wouldn't put you off. For all that Jamie Moore is probably just always on. In these sort of races, he's so strong, perhaps worth an extra £1 or £2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't disagree with either of the guys here. I'll be keeping one eye on Ambitious Fellow for Peter Fye. He's obviously interesting that he comes over here, and that win at Galway last time out is probably worth a bit more than it showed on bare form. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. Right. The Charlie Hall chase. I could make some sort of quip about the jumps are back. There's only 4 runners in a grade 2, blah, 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 blah. But I won't, because it's a pretty decent grade 2, right? You know, like Brave Man's Game, there's the market. Ahoy Senor in here, Gentleman's Game, not far behind. Midnight River's obviously no slouch. Ross, are you a brave man or a gentleman?
Well, you'd have to ask other people that, Adam. Look, I mean, Brave Man Game is the best horse in this race, you know, and the ratings show that he's rated 172, Ahoy Senor 169, Midnight River 156, and Gentleman's Game 154. The first one I want to put a line through is Ahoy Senor. Great horse in the spring. He's by Dylan Thomas. He wants good ground. He's not going to get that here. He ran pretty poorly in this last season, finished 5th of 5. And they know that that's not a problem for them because they know he can step forward through the season. He was still running pretty well in the Gold Cup, so I think they've got unfinished business there, so that will undoubtedly be the target for him. So could happily put a line through him. Brave Man's Game, as I said, rated 172, but he ran to 164 to win this last year. And I am of the opinion that they had him primed and ready to go for this last year because although he'd won over 3 miles as a novice, there was lots of talk that he was, and I certainly felt that he was weak at the finish over 3 miles. He'd had a wind up. I think they had him ready for this last year to convince themselves that they stayed 3 miles in open company because that was going to shape what they did for the rest of the season. He's probably not at his best on soft ground. I think he wants slightly better ground. You know, they took him out at Cheltenham when the ground was soft previously. So as a consequence, I want to take him on. And if I work on the basis at 164 or thereabouts might be good enough to win it, Midnight River gets £4, so he's effectively 158. Gentleman's Game gets £4, he's effectively 160. They get 6, sorry. So I'm quite happy to split my stake between the two of them. Gentleman's Game loves soft ground. He's a soft ground out and out. Had good form last year. At the back end of the year, he was absolutely woeful at the beginning of the year. Came back, put it together over fences at Leopardstown, and actually beat the future Irish Grand National winner I Am Maximus. Now I know that's over 2 mile 5, and I Am Maximus obviously improved for the Irish national trip, but his hurdle form wasn't all that bad at the back end of the season before. He was third behind Classical Dreamer Willie Mullins, who's a good horse on his day on decent ground, which wouldn't have suited Gentleman's Game. His return behind Easy Game at the start of this season was again on soft ground, 2 mile 4, stuck on really well in the closing stages, just got outpaced at a crucial time. I think he's got everything going for him. He's got a prep run against these, and I think at 4 to 1 he's a decent price. But I also don't want to leave Midnight River alone either. I was at Aintree when he won last year. He was travelling much the best for pretty much the entirety of the race, and then landed a bit flat-footed from the back of 2 out and briefly looked in trouble, got alongside jump in the last, and was value, in my opinion, for more than the winning margin there. I thought he stayed on really strongly. He's won on soft ground when winning a 2 mile 4 handicap at Cheltenham, which is competitive. He's won around the track. And 2 weeks ago at Chepstow, the Skeltons upset Paul Nicholls' favourite Nappers Hill. They had their horse there absolutely primed and ready to go. And I think this might well have been the target. I think the Skeltons will know that Brave Man's Game is not going to be at his best. And if they've got a chance of landing a decent pot Midnight River now, who's getting to that dangerous level of being out of handicaps and perhaps not a top class graded chaser, this might be the target. So I'll take those 2 against the more fancied 2 in the market.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Nicholls' horses look to have sort of taken a bit of a while to come. Well, I say a bit of a while. The season's still young, but perhaps less time than usual to come to hand. And conditions are going to be pretty brutal, I'm sure, by the time Saturday rolls around. TC, I gather it's probably Brave Man's Game for you.
Yeah, there's no point playing games here, guys. I've been waiting about 5 minutes for that one. It didn't really go down as well as I was expecting. Look, Brave Man's Game is definitely the horse to beat. Last year, I was probably his biggest critic when everyone else was hyping him up. After Cheltenham, I was saying he didn't stay, and everyone thought he did. And I wasn't really a massive fan. I just think he's the best horse in this race and has to win. Last year in this contest, he jumped amazingly well. He went fresh. He's fresh this time around. Paul Nicholls, yes, his horses haven't necessarily come to form as quickly, but he is 30% in the last 2 weeks. So there's a little boost there as well for his chance. And, the ratings tell you he is the horse to beat no matter what. And when I looked at the other runners in this field, I completely agree with Ross. I don't like a horse Signor. I say this every year at this time of the season, that he is an entry horse for the spring. He doesn't run well at the early part of the year. This is when he goes and wins. But he didn't jump well in this race last time around. He was right out the back, made a litany of mistakes, and he's not for me. Gentleman's Game, I'm not convinced over fences that he is as good as he was over hurdles. Plus, he's super unexposed and must have had some kind of issue, or he takes his races hard because he doesn't race very often at all. So Midnight River is my idea of the biggest danger, and he's a fair price. But if I'm putting up the most logical winner, and there's no each way option in this race, it has to be Brave Man's Game.
Well, time will tell if you're a brave man or not, TC. Anything else at Wetherby or Ascot for either of you?
Just at Ascot, and it'll be a horse TC remembers, just to watch. And bumpers are not a betting medium for me, certainly not at this time of year. But Sam Thomas runs a horse called Celtic Dino, gorgeous big chestnut horse who we were fortunate enough to see when we went and visited Sam last year. He was entered in at Cheltenham and was then a non-runner. Sam's had a couple of bumper horses run quite well lately. If you were the sort of person that wanted to have a punt in a bumper, you won't see a better looking bumper horse all season. And if there was a bit of money around for him, that might be noticeable, because I think they probably have a bit of a line on where he stands against some of the bumper horses that have run already this season.
Ross, sorry, it's remiss of me to ask whether you had anything at Ayr. I didn't even know there was action over obstacles there.
I had a couple at Ayr, but they weren't declared. So I had a long list, and I've got it down to a short list. So Nap and Next Best come from Ascot and Wetherby.
Okie dokes. TC, anything for you over obstacles?
Only Celtic Dino in that bumper. Literally, as Ross has said there, we went to Sam Thomas's yard last year to do a feature, and we saw this horse and we were both taken by how he looks. I did get a notification via email from a tracker saying Celtic Dino was running this weekend. So he's the only other one. To be honest, I haven't looked in depth at the cards aside from the Charlie Hall Chase and the West Yorkshire Hurdle.
Okay, great. Now, before we get into Newmarket, because I know that's where your Nap and Next Best comes from, TC, we must give a plug to the special Breeders' Cup podcast that will be live on Saturday, that covers all of Saturday night's action. You don't want to miss that. The Authority, Tom Collins, will be breaking down all his selections. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out for before you get involved in that on Saturday night. We should probably ask Ross, actually. Anything for the Breeders' Cup?
I've been desperate to see River Tiber over further than 6 furlongs all season. I see he's running over a mile, but with a bend. So from what little I know about Breeders' Cup races, that pretty much lends itself to horses for 7 furlongs. He's going to love the ground, surely. I'm not sure what his draw is like, but I see that Ryan Moore has chosen him over the other O'Brien horse. He's a horse I love, and I was disappointed with how he finished his season, because I thought he would have kicked on from his Coventry win at Royal Ascot. So he'd certainly be one that I think will suit. And then Give Me the Beat Boys, I thought might just be the sort of horse that likes the conditions out in America.
Okay, love it. A couple there from Ross, and like I say, keep your eyes peeled to the YouTube channel on Spotify for the Breeders' Cup Special Edition podcast that should be live on Saturday. Right, Newmarket. So we've got the rearranged Horace Hill Stakes here, James Seymour Stakes. Some decent enough racing, providing it goes ahead. Tom, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, Nap and Next Best both come from Newmarket. As you say, hopefully it goes ahead. The ground's already heavy. Rain is forecast, so fingers crossed that it gets the all clear. My Nap is going to be New Chelsea, who runs in the 1 mile, 1 furlong nursery, which we run at 1:37 p.m. He's a son of New Bay, so he's bred to handle give underfoot. And he's still showing signs of inexperience early in his career. For example, he didn't change his lead in his penultimate outing where he should have won on the all-weather. But he's quite clearly got a lot of ability. He handles testing conditions as proven by last time up. Now, that race last time came at Newbury. He drew miles clear with a wicked turn of foot on soft ground, but got run down late by an extremely fast finishing stablemate who is unbeaten and has won against since. I think the winner's pretty smart, and the fact that New Chelsea got very close to him is a tick in the box. He's got an opening mark of 87, which I think is fair. And albeit he does give weight away, he's definitely the horse to beat for Rafe Beckett. My Next Best comes in the 12:27, which is the Horace Hill, the Group 3. And I initially really liked the Race Beckett trained Valvano in this heat. I thought he would have been a good thing because his debut was phenomenal at Nottingham on similar ground. But unfortunately, he hasn't been declared. So I'm jumping ship to a horse called 10 Bob Tony. Now, he's an extremely flashy horse with white socks. You cannot miss him in the paddock and the prelims. Technically, he's got a lot to find on official ratings, £10 with a horse called Son of Man and £8 with a horse called Orn. But at the same time, this is a late developing 2-year-old who needs testing ground underfoot. And last time up at Salisbury, where he was given a far more positive ride, I thought he was excellent. He's only going to improve from there. And the conditions definitely won't suit the majority of these. So I'm hoping that he'll get straight on the front end and just gallop them all into submission.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to follow up, TC, with a few more for you at Newmarket, going in the 1:02 p.m. Primeval for Harry and Roger Charlton. Kevin Stott on board, who's formed a pretty decent record actually for the Charltons this year. I think running at about a 30% strike rate. You can draw a line through that run at Kempton last time. Pace was all over the shop. This is a beautifully bred horse. Lope de Vega, Passage of Time, should make a mockery of this field, I think, and I don't think you can have too many concerns about the ground based on breeding either. Then the nap for me in the 3:22, the James Seymour Stakes, is Pride of America, who's shown a bucket load of improvement this season after a wind up. Won the John Smith Cup at York, beat Keith Chorister, who's obviously since won a Group 3. No shame in his second last time out in the Doonside Cup at Ayr to Royal Rhyme. That ran well in the Champion Stake last time out. So yeah, Pride of America obviously handles conditions really well, providing it goes ahead. So that's Pride of America and Primeval for me. Ross, let's go back to Ascot then for your nap and next best.
Yeah, jump racing in the jump season, shall we? And just while you were both waxing lyrical about your good selections at Newmarket in flat racing in November, I just had a look at the Ayr declarations, and there are two that probably be just horses to watch, but two Nicky Richards horses. Florida Dream, who won the Aintree Grade 2 bumper. I was asked the other day about a race to follow from last season. If you were going to follow the form of just one race, I would level it. If you followed that and back pretty much the first 10 or dozen that finished in that, you would end this season in profit. I thought it was a really, really good race. He won that in good fashion. He starts off over hurdles in the 12 o'clock. And then another horse, Famous Bridge, in the Hemmings colours. I think this horse has still got plenty of upside. He goes in the 2:15. So depending on what price they were, I might have a little look, but they're certainly interesting horses for the season. And then to come back to the nap and the next best, the nap comes in the 12:55 at Ascot Conditional Riders Race. Freddie Gordon won one of these at Cheltenham last week and was really impressive in doing so. Very composed, knew exactly what he wanted to do and executed it beautifully. And he now gets the leg up for Nicky Henderson on a horse called Immortal, who's only run twice, but captured my imagination. I mean, jumping the first hurdle at Sandown on his debut, he is just the most gorgeous horse. He looks like an embryonic chaser. And on that initial run at Sandown, he got within 6 lengths of Authorised Speed, who's a 133 rated horse, loves soft ground and loves Sandown. I thought that was a really impressive debut. He was then, perhaps on the face of it, a little bit disappointing on his second start, again back at Sandown, where he looked to get tired on what was desperate Sandown ground, and finished about 14 lengths behind 132 rated Gavega, also from Gary Mooryarden, also who thrives at Sandown and on testing conditions, but finished 6 lengths in front of Mamoon Star, who's with Fergal O'Brien, who's got a mark of 114. He comes here now, Immortal, off an opening mark of 110. It's a sort of standing joke on social media, isn't it, that everything comes back in bigger and stronger. But he would certainly look to me to be the sort of horse that would have benefited for another summer at grass. He was a big shell of a horse. Freddie Gordon takes £6 off. Nicky Henderson's horses will step forward, but I don't think he would have to be at full fitness to win this off 110. I see him as being potentially 130, 140 horse in the future. I think he's got absolutely untold potential, and I'd be disappointed if he didn't win this on the way to stepping on to better things. And my next best,
Ross, I should interrupt quickly. That race that Immortal was second in at Sandown on debut, that was won by Constitution Hill for the Henderson Yard as well, right? So they're not going to run a poor one in there.
Absolutely, and there was plenty of chat about him. And if you've got 2 minutes, if you're not watching Newmarket in between all the greats jump racing, go and have a look at that run, and you'll see what I mean. He is just the absolute most gorgeous animal you set your eyes on. I'm really excited to see what he's done physically over the summer, and I do think he's going to be significantly better than 110 by the end of the season. Next best goes to Weatherby, and it's the 115. It's the Sam Drinkwater train, Gallic Geordie. Sam Drinkwater is a trainer I've got plenty of time for. He's very smart, operates at a very decent level with a fairly small team. And whenever he sends his horses up north, he's actually based Membry on the M5. If ever he goes north, they're worth following because he doesn't travel them for the tea and biscuits. This horse was a comfortable winner over course and distance of 109 last season. He then went to Newcastle and was only 1.5 lengths behind a horse that's now rated 114 called One Mill Harbour, and he was giving him £9. I think that trip of 2 miles there probably was just a touch on the short side. He loves this 2 mile 3 trip. Soft ground suits him down to the ground. James Bowen, I thought, was an eye-catching jockey booking. And albeit that it's his first time out, which always comes with, a few sort of unknowns, I'd be surprised if they're going to Weatherby just for a pipe opener. So Gallic Geordie in the 115 is the next best.
Love it. Okay, let's do a recap of all the selections because we've jumped around quite a bit today. So we'll start with the West Yorkshire Hurdle there, where Ross, you like Dashel Drasher. TC, you're siding with Botox Haas. Then in the Charlie Hall Chase, TC's with Brave Man's Game, and Ross, you're splitting stakes between Midnight River and
Gentleman's Game.
Perfect. Knew we'd get there. Then TC over at Newmarket, your Napa next best. New Chelsea in the 1:37 p.m. and 10 Bob Tony in the 12:27 p.m. I like Primeval in the 1:07 and Pride of America in the 3:22. Ross's Nap is Immortal in the 12:55, which, based on a strong case, I'm definitely going to be with. And the next best there is Gallic Geordie in the 1:15 at Weatherby. Actually, we can't forget as well Ross's Breeders' Cup selection, River Tiber. Make sure you get that in the ACCA for the weekend as well.
The invite to the Breeders' Cup pod must have gone to my junk mail, so I will get back a reply as soon as I can.
Yeah, I think that one went second class. I'll chase them up in the office about it. Right, bit of housekeeping. As always, new customers get £30 in free bets when you bet £10 with SBK. T's and C's do apply, and there'll be plenty of other offers across the platform through the weekend with regards to racing multiples, football multiples. Download SBK, sign up, and you'll find all about them. One last plug for the Breeders' Cup pod. That's Saturday, and I wish you both the very best luck over the weekend.